Content of this show or those of the hosts, guests, and callers, they do not necessarily reflect those of Local Matters Broadcasting LLC, its owners, partners, affiliates, assigns, or heirs. Having said that, it's now time to say good morning, St. Johns County. Welcome to the weekly radio show of the St. Johns County Council on Aging, better known in our community as the COA. We're your local nonprofit agency who for the past 51 years has been leading and advocating for the dignity and independence of seniors and responding to their changing needs. I'm Brian Robinson, Program Director for COA, broadcasting to you live from the studio of WFOY 102.1 FM, your local radio station for news, sports, and talk. Before we get into our show, let me remind everyone, just as I do each and every week, that if you have a question, a comment, or a suggestion for a radio show topic, or if you might be interested in purchasing a bridge that I have for sale in the Sahara Desert, well, you can send that email to radio@coasjc.org. Again, that's radio@coasjc.org. Joining me this morning is Dr. Shelly Hazer, Director of the Flagler College Lifelong Learning Institute. Dr. Hazer holds a BS in Elementary Education and Teaching from West Virginia University, a master's degree in Special Education from William & Mary, and a PhD in Education Policy and Administration from the Catholic University of America. Prior to coming to Flagler College, Dr. Hazer served as a professor in the Education Department at Robert Morris University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Good morning, Shelly.
Good morning.
Good to have you in the studio this morning. And as I'm reading your bio, I'm thinking that, we've kind of been in the same places. I went to West Virginia University for at least my freshman year, got into my sophomore year, and was like, okay, I don't really like landscape architecture, and dropped out and ended up going to a local community college and getting my associate in business degree. But before we came on the air, you mentioned you were there during from 84 through 88, which is a time frame that my older brother was there as well. I'm not even going to ask if you knew him, because I know there's a lot of students at West Virginia University. But then I have a cousin who graduated from Robert Morris University, and so it's just always fun to interact with somebody who knows that area that I've been to, and just be able to talk about those places that we've both been to. So thank you for being here. What I'd love for you to do, if you would, is just I've told our listeners your bio, but just tell them a little bit more about yourself, and then what have you enjoyed about living in St. Johns County the past 4 years?
Sure. So yes, I moved to Florida 4 years ago. My husband and I moved down here from Pittsburgh. As you mentioned, I came from Robert Morris University, and we were in Tallahassee for about a year and a half with Flagler College. There was a campus out there. So I was hired as an education professor, and I was there and worked on the accreditation for the Florida Department of Education, and then moved to the main campus. And the dean of the education department at that time was also over lifelong learning, and he kind of asked if I would be interested in being the director of lifelong learning. So that's kind of how I came to this position 3 years ago. I love it. And what was the other question? Some of the things.
What have you been enjoying about St. Johns County since you've been here? Because we're both from the north. We're familiar with all the different seasons.
Right.
But coming here, it's I've been here since 2018, and I just have enjoyed the nice weather year-round, so close to the beach. I mean, just so many. What have you enjoyed about that?
I love the sun. I mean, it's, as you know, Western Pennsylvania, and I lived in Washington, D.C. for 22 years. There's a lot of gray skies.
Yes.
But that is something I'm still amazed. 4 years later, I wake up and there is sunshine. Mm-hmm. And it was always growing up, Florida's the sunshine state, at least that's what I was always told. I'm like, it truly is. So I love all of the sunshine, and people are extremely friendly. Mm-hmm. I like that people are outdoors a lot, just about all year long, even in the hot summers. So I enjoy that. And I just enjoy getting to know another piece of the United States. Mm-hmm. The history is so different than the Northeast. It's so different than the Mid-Atlantic states. And I have to admit, I just didn't learn a lot about Florida history when I was growing up or even in school. So that's been something I've tremendously enjoyed, is there's rich, wonderful history here that's extremely unique to the United States.
Well, something I enjoyed, I was doing a tour of the Leitner Museum.
Right.
And I discovered, like, there's some of the glassware that's in there, and some of it was produced back near home. Some of the glass factories back in the West Virginia, Ohio area.
Yes.
I thought, wow, that is so neat to see that, just the connection from from back home that's sitting in the Leitner Museum. That's really been neat to see.
Right, there was a big glass factory, I don't know if you remember, at Port Marion, right on the border of Pennsylvania and West Virginia, and that was a huge glass factory. There was a lot of glass factories in that area.
Yeah, so it's just the culture, and again, the history of St. Augustine is just so enjoyable. It seems like you're always able to learn something new as you tour around the city. So I'm sure that you've enjoyed that.
Right.
Well, I want to jump in. We'll be taking our first commercial break here in just a few minutes, but let's go ahead and just kind of, if you would, give our listeners an overview of the Flagler College Lifelong Learning Institute.
Sure. So we are a program for the community of St. Johns County, St. Augustine, and beyond. So we offer courses, seminars, long weekend trips, day trips, and now we're even doing trips outside of the country with historians, Flagler faculty, and experts from the community. So we're now kind of more what I'd call a humanities-based program. So a lot of our courses and offerings are art history, St. Augustine history, music, travel, culture, language, theater, and what's wonderful about Flagler College is those resources are right at the college with performances and the faculty, and so we're able to work together. So many of the Flagler faculty teach in the lifelong learning program. So that's kind of an overview of what we are. We have courses and seminars going on just about all year. So our fall session just started in the middle of September, and we'll wrap up in early December, and then our spring session will start the end of January, and we'll go till the very beginning of May. And then our summer session is really May-June session. And then we kind of just close up because it's super hot in the summer here.
It is.
July and August, and then we let the campus kind of open back up in August, and then we kind of follow on the coattails of that. So that's kind of our cycle and our rhythm, and I think we are in a really great spot right now. I love all of the participants in the lifelong learning program and who joins and comes and takes classes. It's really exciting for me, and I can see the interaction and the engagement with those who come with each other.
Well, that's fantastic. All right, well, we're going to take our first commercial break right now, and when we come back, we've got a lot more questions that we're going to ask you, and we're going to dive into more of that to learn even more about the Lifelong Learning Center. All right, we'll be right back after these messages. And welcome back to the weekly radio show of the St. Johns County Council on Aging here on WFOY 102.1 FM, your local radio station for news, sports, and talk. I'm Brian Robson, Program Director for COA, and I am joined this morning by Dr. Shelly Hazer, who oversees the Flagler College Lifelong Learning Institute. And prior to our first commercial break, she was just giving us an overview of that. And so what I'd like to do now is just allow you to take some time and talk about some of the courses that are currently being offered, and what is the cost to take the courses.
Sure. So as I mentioned before, that our courses are humanities focused, and we also have seminars. So the seminars are kind of one-shot deals where you kind of come and it's an hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours. It's on a specific topic that a historian, like I said, a Flagler faculty member or an expert from the community will share their expertise. And the courses are about once a week, 4, 5, 6 weeks, and they run from $49 to $60. And a couple of the courses, for example, this fall that we're offering, American Miracle, the Revolutionary War era, 1775 to 1783, and that's being taught by Mark Johnson. He is a adjunct faculty member at Flagler College. That course is full. fall, and maybe it's because we're getting ready for that. It's not the bicentennial. What is it? The anniversary of that. So some others, we have exploration in oil painting, drawing, Hollywood and history, and that is a film class where students look at the film, and then the instructor talks about what was real, what was not. So it's called Reel to Real, like a play on the words. We have a photography class, urban sketching with a professor from the Savannah College of Art and Design. So lots of really cool things. Pet portraits with Liz Monaco, movie musicals, self-publishing your book, angels and demons in literature. So you can see there's literature, music, theater, history, and some of the seminars that we're offering. We have probably about, at least a dozen more. Marjorie Keenan Rawlings, St. Augustine, with historian Casey Wooster. And we just had a seminar last night at Markland House with Professor Emeritus Dr. Darren Andrews, and she is also the coordinator director of the Menorcan Studies Project. And that was the Menorcans after New Smyrna, and she is actually a descendant from the Menorcans. So just lots of very cool things. Film noir, history of homicide in St. Augustine's, another seminar with Dr. Kelly Vannon, and she is a Flagler professor in criminology. So it can just go on and on. If you want me to continue, I will, but I think that's like a smattering of a lot of different things we're offering.
That's fantastic, which everybody can see that on the website.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so what would be the website that they should go to for that?
They can go to www.Flagler, actually, let's see, I'm sorry, that would be, www.flagler.edu/lifelong learning. Yes, that is the website. Or they can also email lifelonglearning@flagler.edu, and we'd be glad to send them the link to go directly to our website that has the catalog and how to register for that, all of those things.
Well, and one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on the show is because, as you know, at River House, we offer a lot of different classes, art and music and exercise, dance classes. We even have a fishing class if you want to learn how to fish, right? And, what I love about, what you're doing is, you do have some classes similar to what we're doing, but you also have a lot of classes that we're not doing. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that our seniors know that, you can come to River House and take some classes there, but then there's also these great offerings that you have as well.
Right. And it's also, our programming is mostly in the evening. So I believe River House, you're more of a day program.
That is correct, yes.
So our classes and seminars are pretty much Monday through Thursday after 5 p.m. and we're in Pollard Hall on Flagler College campus. We also meet at different places in the community. We also have classes on Saturdays and some Sunday mornings. And if I could add, we're doing day trips. So if anyone likes to get out and about with a group, we're going to the Winter Park for the day coming up in October, and we're going to be going to the Alban Pulaski Museum and the Morse Museum that has the largest collection of Tiffany stained glass in, I guess, the world. So an art professor is going with us, Dr. Annie Schultz, and she'll be leading that. I'll be going as well. We're doing a day trip to Fort Matanzas, and Ranger Caroline Curry's going to be leading that, so we'll be taking a boat. So anyway, there's a lot of cool things. St. John's Botanical Garden and Nature Preserve is another day trip, and we're also going up to Amelia Island for Stories of Seaside Crossroads, exploring Amelia Island's forgotten frontiers with adjunct professor of history Justin Lawson. And so there's that. We also have some long weekend trips with the chair of the Humanities Department at Flagler, Dr. Mike Butler. We're going to Memphis, Tennessee, in early January to explore Elvis music and the American South, and that is just going to be absolutely phenomenal.
And I think you said off the air that one's already booked.
That one's already booked. I mean, fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know, we also have a wait list. So yes, that one is booked. We just put another trip out with Dr. Annie Schultz going to Marfa, Texas. So if anyone likes that big land art form in Marfa, Texas, and it's a fascinating place. So again, you can get information on our website, or you can email us at lifelonglearning.flagler.edu. We'll give you some information, and that's going in March, and there's room. We just put it out. So yeah, we got lots of really cool things going on.
Yeah. So your Lifelong Learning Institute, like we are, as far as the River House is concerned, that's what we call it. So really, anybody 18 or older can come and take classes at our River House location. So you don't have to just be a senior. I mean, it's mostly seniors who do come, but anybody who's 18 or older can, sign up, pay the fee, come to the class. And that's the case for yours as well. Anybody 18 or older, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. So what do you find as far as, do you seem to have a mixture of age demographics, or does it seem to be the older folks or younger folks? Like what do you tend to see?
I would say the majority of our participants are 50, 60, 70-ish. So I say they're kind of pre-retirement, retirement. However, we do have participants who are younger than that and older than that. So there is a little bit of a mix up there, which is kind of nice, but the majority, I would say, are in that 30-year bracket.
Okay, yeah. And the reason I mention that is because, we like to, we tend to like to do things with people of our own age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we tend to have things in common, similar backgrounds, so forth. And so I know that our seniors like to travel together and do things together. And so I just want to make sure that, if they just give them an understanding of, if they sign up for one of your trips, like, is it just going to be all 20-year-olds that are going, or people that are closer to their age group? And that's why I wanted to bring that up.
Oh, sure, yeah. And I go on all the trips, so, they'll get to meet me, and we always make sure we have a really good time.
Yeah.
And we do those kind of things.
That's fantastic. Well, and you just went on a trip to Portugal, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Right.
Dr. Nick Miller, one of the history professors at Flagler College, he led that trip. I went on it and with him, and it was a great, wonderful experience. We had 11 participants, which was pretty much what we wanted. Dr. Miller takes undergraduates to Lisbon, Portugal as part of their learning experience. So that trip was kind of, he kind of tweaked it a little bit, and so our lifelong learners got to experience his expertise and a lot of what he does with the undergraduates on a more adult, platform. And that was the lifelong learning trip. He also speaks fluent Portuguese, so we were amazed when we were touring one of the historic homes, and the docent there didn't speak English so well, so Nick was able to step in and translate. And I think the first 5 minutes we were just all in awe of this. And then, so what I'm trying to say is very special, unique experiences are what are part of our travel experiences, because we don't really go through a tour company. It is the faculty professor and me designing this and making it, I feel, a very special, educational, and engaging trip.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm sure the cost varies based on the trip. And,
correct.
It's going to be probably cheaper if you have, if you're going to room with somebody, as opposed to if you want your own room.
Yes.
Those type of things, I'm sure, come into play as well. And so it sounds great. We're about to go to our next commercial break, so we'll talk a little bit more about the trips and other things that you do at the Lifelong Learning Center. You're listening to the weekly radio show, St. John's County Council on Aging. We'll be right back after these messages. And welcome back to the weekly radio show of the St. John's County Council on Aging here on WFOY 102.1 FM, your local radio station for news, sports, and talk. I'm Brian Robinson, Program Director for COA. Joined this morning by Dr. Shelly Hazen, who is with the Flagler College Lifelong Learning Institute. And before we continue our conversation, let me just let everybody know that next week I'll have Mayor Nancy Sykes-Klein in the studio with me. So tune in next week, same place, same time, right here on WFOY 102.1 FM. All right, so Shelly, let's continue our conversation about what you're doing there at the Flagler College Lifelong Learning Institute. Off air, you were telling about something that's coming up in reference to the Ponce, and that's going to be in the winter. So tell our listeners about that.
Sure. Well, if you haven't been downtown lately, I don't know if you know, but Flagler College has committed to restoring, big pieces of the ponds. It's just gorgeous. It's lovely. And visitors can go into the courtyard. It's open to the public most of the time, and into the rotundas. That's also open to the public generally most of the time. So we are going to be offering a course just on the Ponce, that hotel that has had now part of Flagler College, and beginning with Henry Flagler's vision of the hotel that he wanted to build, all the way to today, which is just an incredible masterpiece of architecture that the college, Flagler College, has committed to restoring. So if you're interested in that, again, you can email lifelonglearning@flagler.edu. We'll be glad to send you that information when our spring registration comes out, which will be probably in early December, or you can go to our website at www.flagler.edu/lifelonglearning, and we'll be glad to give you that information. So yes, that's coming up next semester.
Yeah, very exciting. So lots of different courses that you offer. A lot of them are dealing with history.
Right.
So if you're out there listening and you're a big history buff, this is something great for you that you can get involved with and take. And you talked about some of the different trips that you do, that's some of the other things that you offer. So let's go back and just kind of talk about your trip to Portugal. What are some, you talked about how fun it was for the professor who went with you and who speaks Portuguese, and just to kind of experience him interacting with the person there in Portugal who didn't speak English very well, and just kind of how you were in awe of that for how he was able to do that. But what are some of the other highlights of the trip that you really enjoyed?
Right. So we were able to go to a museum. This was very interesting to me, on just sardines, and sardines are a huge part of the Portuguese history, Portugal's history, and even today. So the sustainability of the eating factor of the sardines, and the art that is on and was on sardine cans. So I never really thought of that. My paternal grandparents are from Italy, and I know sardines are a big part of Italian culture. I ate a lot of sardines, but I didn't really see that connection with Portugal till I was there. Very fascinating, and we had a historian walk us through that special museum. So, for example, that was a highlight. Another highlight is just the public transportation. We took public transportation, and we were really in the Portuguese communities and neighborhoods. Our hotel was a former Carmelite convent, and was restored in the 1880s by two British sisters. So we stayed at the York House Hotel, so that's why it has a British name. And since then it's been renovated, but it was just beautiful. We were right downtown, and you could still see the artwork that had been handed down from the Carmelites, and we're still part of it. The other piece, really quickly, that was just fascinating that Nick brought out in many ways was the British influence in Portugal, and with the different drinks, brandy, and there's still a big British influence of that culture in Portugal. So that was something else. We went to different museums, but those were just a couple of the highlights.
And then, so with it having that British influence, are there a good bit of people that speak English then?
Oh, yeah, people speak English. I mean, not just British English, but English. Yeah. So that was very common because I don't speak Portuguese, but there are still people that their language is Portuguese, and it's their country, so it was very helpful to have Dr. Miller with us to speak Portuguese. So, but it was fun. We learned a couple of words and phrases whenever I travel. I mean, I've traveled a lot. I'm very fortunate that I've been to a lot of different places around the world. I always try to learn please, thank you, hello, a couple phrases, and that goes a long way. So we were all able to do that as well. And we're hoping maybe we could go back and do another trip to another part of Portugal, maybe next year.
Mm-hmm. And then as far as, if somebody's out there listening, maybe they're single, right? Like maybe they're older, their spouse has passed away, they're now single, their kids have moved out of the area, and they're just kind of here by themselves, right? And maybe they don't have somebody that they can travel with. So, and maybe they're hesitant to come on a trip.
Right.
But what would you say to that person that's listening today? I mean, who's like, oh gosh, I don't know, like, what to expect.
Yeah, there were single travelers on the Lisbon trip and some of our other trips, and they blend in great. And like I said, I'm with the group, and I travel single with the group, so I'm there, and we're all just kind of melding together, even with the couples. So I'd say reach out. I'd be glad to connect them with a traveler that has gone on a trip, a single traveler, and if they'd want to talk to them, that's fine. We also have information sessions for our trips, so we could give them the information of one of those sessions is coming up. It's just the feedback we've gotten, because we always survey after the trips, they've always been extremely positive, and one of the highlights of the feedback from these surveys is how much participants, whether they were traveling as a couple or a group, we've also had 3 friends together, 2 sisters traveling, that they've just enjoyed connecting with everybody in the group. So that's something I always enjoy. It's kind of a special thing, but I think it's also intentional on my part, that it's also my personality, that I just try to draw people together. Mm-hmm. So when we're having this shared experience of a wonderful trip and travel, which is something I love and I believe in travel, that maybe it's just a natural thing that I'm trying to make those connections with people and for people.
And then also, that I think for a person to keep in mind is that they're also going to be traveling with people from the St. Augustine area. So,
correct.
Like, they might be a stranger, but we still have in common that we're from the same area. So they're going
right.
to, yeah. All right, well, that music means we've got to take our next commercial break, and we'll be right back to continue our conversation after these messages. And welcome back to the final segment of the weekly radio show of the St. Johns County Council on Aging here on WFOY 102.1 FM. Your local radio station for news, sports, and talk. I'm Brian Robinson, Program Director for COA. Joined this morning by Dr. Shelly Hazer, who is over the Flagler College Lifelong Learning Institute. And before we get into the next couple of questions that I have, you wanted to highlight the art walk that is coming up.
Yes. So the Lifelong Learning Institute, Flagler College, we participate in the St. Augustine First Friday Art Walk in October. So the first Friday in October is tomorrow, October 3rd, and our students' artwork from their classes from Lifelong Learning, the Lifelong Learning classes from the fall, last spring, and summer art classes will be displayed this Friday at Markland House at Flagler College from 5 to 8 p.m. So come on out. It's free. It's open to the public, and our doors will open at 5 p.m. So come enjoy some of the art and photographs from our photography class from the Lifelong Learning students.
And I believe parking is available right across the street, correct?
Flagler, we're not, there's no parking for this at Flagler College, but you can park and take the Old Town Trolley Tour. That is free. And there are different spots where you can pick up the trolley and get a sticker. So if you'd like more information on that, you can again email lifelonglearning@flagler.edu or call our office at 904-819-6263, and we can talk to you a little bit more about parking or send you the information where to park and get on the trolley.
Okay, perfect. So my next question is, on your website you invite people to become an instructor, and I know some of your instructors are professors from the college, but if there's anybody out there that's listening this morning that might be interested in this, what type of instructors are you currently looking for to add to the Institute?
Right. That's a great question. So I'm always interested in what I call experts from the community who have that expertise, whether it's a passion or an educational expertise in humanities. So that would be history, art history, St. Augustine history, music, theater, writing, literature. Right now, probably I'm really interested if anyone has that literature background. I'd like to add more literature-focused courses, and this is something that our participants have also asked for. So if you have that background and you're interested, you can again email or call 904-819-6263. That's the Lifelong Learning Office at Flagler College. Or you can email lifelonglearning@flagler.edu, and we can send you a form to fill out.
Okay. And so if somebody was like a high school literature teacher for 35 years, that's now retired, and that would be somebody that could...
Right, and then I'd want to know, what kind of literature are you interested in? Is it more Southern? Was there a certain period, author, international? So yes, we would have a conversation or two and, come up with something.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. Well, that's good to know. And so if you're out there listening and you meet that criteria, reach out and you can share your knowledge with others that come to the Institute. So as we think about the future for the Institute, I always like to ask people, like, what is your wish list, right? Like, you look at the different courses you're currently offering, but, as you look into the future, what are some things that you really are hoping to offer?
Yeah, I was thinking about that question, and that is a tough one, because I feel in the past year, we've had a big reach at Lifelong Learning. I feel like we've reached a lot of those things, but what I would love to do is keep expanding our trip offerings, because there does seem to be a need, and I see how participants really enjoy traveling together and going to places they might not go to. So yes, that would be a wish that if that could expand and keep growing, for the trips.
All right. As far as you think about a specific instructor, though, like, is there one that you're like, I wish I could get an instructor who has expertise in XYZ that could come and teach on this specific topic?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would love to find someone who has the knowledge and experience with the shrimping industry in Jacksonville and St. Augustine. I've had a lot of requests from the community on having a seminar or a course on that specific history piece of our region, the shrimping industry. And as you mentioned, I'm not from this area, so I'm also fascinated with that. So if you or someone who has that expertise, please call 904-819-6263. That's our office. Leave your name, phone number, email. I'll get back to you. Or you can also email lifelonglearning@flagler.edu. So yes, that is something, and I have been asking lots of people in the last 6 to 8 months for that shrimping industry connection. So yes. Okay,
that's interesting. I would never have thought of that. Yeah, that's very interesting. How the history of that and how it's played a role in this community.
Yeah, I never realized that, and the more I've talked to different people, I realized that was a big piece of this community. There is an exhibit, a permanent exhibit at the St. Augustine Lighthouse, so if anyone goes to that, that kind of started the conversation, was that exhibit. So there is information there at the St. Augustine Lighthouse about that and history of the shrimping industry. Yeah.
And so that brings another question to mind, is do you ever collaborate with some of the other places? So for instance, the Lighthouse, maybe even the Catholic Mission, those places have a long history. Do you ever collaborate with them or their personnel to come in and do a course? Something like that?
Absolutely. I work closely with Megan Altus. She's the director of the St. Augustine Historical Society. We just had a speaker series last night. We collaborate with the St. Augustine Historical Society and Lifelong Learning. Lifelong Learning collaborates closely with the St. Augustine Lighthouse, and Jay Smith there, he's teaching a class. And Allison Simpson, she's the historian at the Florida National Guard and St. Francis Barracks, and we just did a tour there, and we do different things together, with each other's organizations. And Nicole Diem is the head research librarian at the St. Augustine Historical Society. She teaches courses with us. I could go on and on. Yeah, we just had a kickoff at Mission Nombre de Dios with two of our professors, Dr. Tim Johnson and Dr. Trevor Bryant, and they've done research on different aspects of the mission. So we had it at the mission, and it was great. We did a dusk talk and walk through the Sacred Acre with Dr. Johnson. So I could go on and on because I really believe getting out into the community. Ranger Jill Leverett, she's actually an alumni of Flagler College, and she is the ranger at the Castillo. So we've done events there. We're working with Fort Matanzas, and yes, so we do a lot with different organizations, the Pennypact House. We're doing a class with St. John's Audubon Society, a birding class, and that's a repeat class because it's so popular. So we try to incorporate more nature, and so that's a really popular class. So yes, we do. I couldn't do it without collaborating with organizations. I just couldn't, and we're very fortunate to live in a place that has so many.
Yeah, lots of history here and lots to experience. So
right.
Okay, well, we're getting close to the end of our show, so thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome.
And we hope that you, if you're out there listening, that you'll take advantage of these wonderful courses at the Flagler Lifelong Learning Institute. I'm Brian Robson, Program Director. I'll be back with you next week to interview the mayor. Have a great week, everybody.